Good evening. I'm back in Holcomb, Kansas. And what a madhouse. In fact, the manager is giving away a bag. Well, I came in, I dropped my trailer. I've been waiting all day for my load. Going to Edwardsville, which is the Kansas City area. Finally, tonight I was about to give up. It's 11:20 at night. My load was supposed to be ready by 2 o'clock this afternoon. I was about to give up, and our weekend dispatcher, she comes on Friday night, and she goes, "Do you want to run tonight?" And I said, "Well, yeah." But she just told me my load wasn't ready. She goes, "Well, I've got another load going there that is ready for this guy's park." I guess it's not a bad spot, but nobody parks there, but whatever. Anyway, she had this load that was built and ready to go. So I get in here and they're backed up almost to the street again as usual. Although it didn't take quite 2 hours to get through like it did last time I was here. Anyway, went in there, dropped my trailer, picked up my loaded trailer, headed out to the guard shack, and then they give you your paperwork and everything. And she comes out with a bag and gives me the bag. I said, "What's this?" She goes, "This is from management. I think there's a sandwich in there, a little bag of chips, and a drink." She goes, "Because everything's been so crazy around here." She goes, "We've had guys, like owner-operators and such, come in, drop their trailer, and then they come back later and just pick their trailer up and say they're going somewhere else. Because they've been having to wait so long for their loads. Because it's just a mess, man. I don't know what's going on with Tyson, but they're a mess. So when I get done in Edwardsville, which I'll probably get there about 6:30 or 7 in the morning, the plan is to not go back to Holcomb until at least Monday, and let them get themselves straightened out. So I don't know if I'm gonna go to Dodge and pick one up, or I don't know. I mean, we have options. I could go up to Iowa and pick up a load. I could go down to St. Joseph. There's a place we load there. It's a broker load, but we do it. It's a live load. Been there a couple of times. Not a bad place. I mean, they load you up pretty quick. A lot of our drivers don't like doing them though. They get spoiled till you're dropping hooks. Anyway, the drink is a Pepsi. I won't drink that. I'll save it and give it to my wife when I get home. I don't drink soft drinks, but she does. I don't drink Pepsi for sure. It tastes like cow pee to me, but my wife drinks it. I'll tell her that, and she goes, "How do you know what cow pee tastes like?" I said, "I don't." I said, "But there's some things you can smell it. And just by smelling something, you know what it probably tastes like." And if you live anywhere in the, middle of the country, anywhere in the Great Plains, if you've smelled cow pee and cow manure and cow in general. So I know what it smells like, so I got a pretty good idea what it tastes like. Beautiful night. It's about 20 degrees. We had little snow flurries earlier, but they're gone. It's going to be a chilly night tonight, but not too bad. I made a post earlier today about, garbage. I was parked cars on that little street that dead ends right there into the Loves. All that trash. There are trash cans right there at the truck stop. There is a big dumpster that they leave open that you can throw, anybody can throw trash in there. But they don't do it. They throw it on the ground. There's even a mattress out there. Somebody taking a mattress out of the truck and threw it out there. They could have put that in that dumpster. But that would have required walking a few feet. I'm sure it didn't start out as far out in the field as it did. The wind probably took it that far. I didn't say I'm doing 74. I'm not doing 70. I'm doing 72. Get your story straight there, sign. Anyway, look, and I'm not saying it's the majority of drivers. I'm not even saying, it may just be 10%. It may be 5%. But it's enough. And it's not just what they call the Durka guys. It's not just the foreign guys. This has been a problem for decades. We can't just put everything on the foreign drivers. Believe me, there's a lot of stuff we can put on them. We cannot put this on the foreign drivers. Now, I know there are some places where culturally it's not nearly as big a deal to throw trash on the ground as it is in other cultures. I get that. But this is a problem we've been having for a long time in this industry. Now, in my 30 plus years of driving, I can't remember a time where I ever actually caught a guy throwing a bag of garbage out of his truck. But if I do, and if anybody does, we need to start shaming these guys. Because this is why. You want to know why we can't park in so many places? That's why. That's one of the big reasons why. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And if you have no place to pee and you got to pee in a bottle or something, it's fine. Put it in the trash bag. Throw it away. Throw it away. Throw it in the trash. My wife works at a truck stop. I've helped her when I've been home do the trash here at work. Yeah, there's a reason why. They wear gloves. They wear latex gloves for a reason, because they know God knows what's in those trash cans. But they'd rather you put them in the trash can than have to pick them up in the parking lot. I mean, it's just common sense, man. It really is. It's just common sense. But common sense ain't so common anymore. So here we are. I don't understand. We're all grown men and women. It tells you a lot about people by how they, how trashy they act or how trashy they are. I'll give you another example. Trucking companies. I was talking to a younger guy about this. How to gauge a trucking company. I don't know if I talked about this. Man, there's sometimes I think about things to talk about, and then I don't remember if I actually talked about it or if I just thought about talking about it. But forgive me if I've already talked about this. Trucking companies. You can gauge a trucking company. This is for maybe some younger drivers, You can gauge, you can tell a lot about a trucking company when you first pull up to a trucking company. If it's in your town, or if you drive to it, and you look in the parking lot, and there's a lot of junky cars out there, and you look at the drivers, and they look like their family tree doesn't fork, that tells you a lot about that company. They don't hire the best and brightest, probably because they don't pay good, or their equipment is junk. I've worked at companies and didn't last a month because their equipment was junk. And I'm like, no, bro, I'm not doing this. I worked for a company hauling gasoline, and His equipment was junk, and I was afraid I was going to hit a hard bump out there on I-40, and that tanker was going to break in half and spill gasoline and diesel all over the interstate, and I was going to make the local news that night. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Not hauling gasoline, for sure. I mean, you're a lawsuit waiting to happen, man, and I don't want to be involved. I think I did talk about this, and I apologize for repeating myself. But my point is, whether it's right or wrong, people judge you by stuff like that, man. And people see this, and they judge all truck drivers by that, by trash. And, you know, you can say all day long, well, it's only 5-10% of it. You may be right. But that's 5 or 10% too many. We should be out there picking trash up, not throwing trash out. We should be out there showing our appreciation, especially at a place like a Love's or some place like that where they don't charge you to park. We can just roll in there and park. We should be showing our appreciation. Maybe we should do something like that. I don't know how you would get something like that together. Anybody got any ideas? Put in the comments how maybe we could get something together where, you know, drivers get together when they're at a truck stop or something, and they go out there, you put some gloves on, go out there and pick trash up. And let the truck stop know, hey, just let you know we're going to be walking around here picking up trash because we appreciate you letting us park, you know, and whatever. Even if it's a place where they charge a park, it's private property, they can charge if they want, you know. And just to show our appreciation and to show we're not all trashy like that, because that's not an easy job. These people who work at these truck stops, they're not making a lot of money, and they got to go back behind grown men and women and pick up their trash. So I don't know, maybe there's something we could do, like I say, get some sort of group of drivers that go around and do this. Especially if you're a guy like me who runs the same areas of the country. You know, I pretty much stay in the Central and Rockies, you know. So I'm at the same I'm at that Love's a lot. And at several other ones, you know, mainly Love's because that's where we get fuel. The Love's in Amarillo, I do my 34 there a lot. If I don't go home, but I go ahead and do my 34 in Amarillo, sometimes my wife will come out and meet up with me or something, and we'll go eat dinner or something. But I'll do my 30 because I don't want to go home. I'm not going home just for 34 hours. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't go home just for a 34. You know, so if I'm just gonna do a 34 in Amarillo, I won't go home. I'll just stay there in town, and I'll hang out at that Love's. You know, and yeah. So, and I'm sure there's other guys too who just do sort of like a regional thing. But even if you don't, even if you're coast to coast, you know, I still think there's something that we can do as far as, you know, getting together and cleaning up, unfortunately, behind grown men and women. I don't know. Just a thought. There went a big rabbit. That was a big one. Must have been a jackrabbit. Some of them jackrabbits get pretty big, man. We got some there at the house. Those things are downright spooky looking. snow between here and KC. I don't think. I know they're getting snow back east. And again, no one's paying me to think, so there you go. Somebody was coming at me. It's a street light out there. I fight so much for this industry in my own little way. I'm not saying I do a lot, but I try. And then you see stuff like, the trash at the truck stop, and it just like, why do I bother? Why do I bother? If these guys don't want to do any better than that, why should I care? No one else does. And I talk about Alaska a lot. I don't mean to bore you to death with it, but it's a different level of driver up there. They're just different. I'm not saying that there weren't some POSs up there. There are. There's POSs everywhere, and there's POSs in every industry. But the amount of POSs we have here in this industry today is, I don't know. I just don't know. And it's not just like, it didn't start yesterday. Area like this where they get a lot of wind, and sometimes trash cans fall over in the wind, they don't secure them, and trash blows out of them. The problem they had in Alaska was the ravens, right? I've sat there and watched ravens fly down like to a gas station or something and sit there and pick every piece of trash out of that trash can and just throw it on the ground, because ravens give 0 F's. They really do. They don't care. Throw it all on the ground just to get something at the bottom of the trash can, an old chicken nugget or something. And they'll do it. They know it's down there. I guess they can smell it. And they'll pull everything out of that trash can, just leave it scattered all over the ground. And of course, the wind blows it, and that's it. Ravens don't care. Ravens give 0 F's. They don't care. So you do have that. But, what are you going to do? They're birds, I think ravens are pretty cool myself. They're very smart animals, very intelligent. So anyway, there's that. I don't know. We're supposed to be, I don't want to say smarter, because ravens are pretty smart, but we're supposed to have more common sense. supposed to care more. Best time to run across here. Not a lot of traffic. If you do run up on a slowpoke, you can usually get around them pretty easy. So I don't mind running overnight. I don't like the fact that I sat up all day waiting on this load though. Kind of, then you get sleepy. Now I'll be honest, she gave me the option. She said, you can run tonight if you want, or wait till in the morning. I really got to make some money because, I just left the house a few days ago, and I had a short week last week, and I'm going to have a short week this week because I didn't leave the house till Tuesday. And it's Friday. And I would like to get as close to 3,000 miles this week as possible. I'm not going to get 3,500 in. I know that's not going to happen. I'd like to get at least 3, or at least 28 if I can. 28's not great for here, but I mean that's about our minimum. That's what they like you to minimum get 2,800 a week. They shoot for at least 3,000 or better. I mean, I've got 4,000 before. Well, I got more than that during COVID when I worked here, when they had the exemption. Talk about something else. Thank you. Wasn't sure if they were bright or not. I was going to talk about something else, and I don't want to sound like an old man, although I am. The old saying, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. Well, there you go. I thought in the 80s I was never going to die. Now, I don't know. If I found out tomorrow I was going to die, I'd be like, I've had a good run. But anyway, I belong to a few groups, trucking groups on Facebook. And I've noticed we have, and I've talked about the whole safety first thing before, but it's gotten to a point of ridiculousness. And the questions that people ask on this group are things that we used to just figure out back in the day. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask some questions. I'm saying, you do have to think for yourself. So I saw a guy, he was going from LA to Chicago. And he wanted to know what was the safest route. And he showed 3 routes. One going up through Denver and across that way. One running up I-40 to I-44. And then one running I-10 and then 20 up through Dallas and then going up that way. Most people say run I-40, which I'd tell you the same thing. Run I-40. It's just easier. You don't want to have to run through Dallas if you don't have to traffic and everything. And even like El Paso and all that craziness. But I'm thinking, what do you mean, what is the safest? Safe from what? A bear attack? I don't know, a meteor falling on top of your head? I don't know what you mean by the safest. Now, I guess you could say, okay, you don't want to run I-70 west of Denver in the wintertime if you don't have to. Right? You don't have to go through Eisenhower if you don't have to. That's true. But as far as, I mean, I don't know if that's what they meant by the safest. I don't know. I mean, I guess the safest would be to stay down on I-10 as long as possible, and then cut your way north there into Dallas, and then go up that way. But I don't know. Then there was a guy complaining that he was 2 hours from home and he had to shut down because he was out of hours. And I'm thinking, bro, go home. Go on personal conveyance and go home. Now, I guess if you're under a load, I know guys are going to say, oh, you're under a load, you're not supposed to, blah, blah, whatever. I'm going home. Because for me, it's supposed to be about safety. I'll get better rest at home. So I should go home. That's my thought. I don't know. But that's what I would do. I'd go home. I wouldn't ask questions on social media about it either. I would just do it. And then you've got why are you driving in inclement weather? I wouldn't drive in bad weather. All right. I don't always drive in bad weather. Now, you have to define bad weather. I heard horror stories of guys being trapped in Mississippi for like 4 days because the interstates were closed. Yeah, Mississippi doesn't have the equipment to clean it off because of the snow. They don't have the ability to get it off. They can bring maintainers out there and clean it off, but they're probably not going to do it because they're Mississippi and they don't care. So in that case, yeah, I'd avoid that area. If I had a load going into Jackson or something, I'd say, yeah, I'm not going to do that because I'm just going to get trapped. If I can even get there. I'm sure by now you can. This was the other day. But if I'm running areas where they plow the roads and there's not like heavy snow falling and the roads are in decent shape, I'm going to run it. Now, I'm no Billy Big Rig by any stretch of the imagination. I've run in snowstorms mainly because I got caught in them, especially back in the day before we had, weather on our phones and all that. And some storm pops up in the middle of Wyoming at midnight and you're stuck in it and you're going to run through it because you want to get through it. There's no place to stop. So sometimes you get into those storms accidentally. So I do think it's a good idea to exercise that ability to drive in inclement weather. I'm not saying do something dangerous, but kind of, it's sort of like backing up. If you don't do it for a long time, for whatever reason, you kind of lose that ability. You got to get it back. I mean, it's like riding a bicycle. You never totally forget, but you get rusty at it. So I'm not saying to go out there and drive in a blizzard, but these guys it's like they won't even drive in the rain hardly. The weather's got to be perfect before they go anywhere. And you're just like, come on, guys. I get it, man. Look, if you don't feel safe, I get it. And they say, oh, well, no load is worth your life. Well, that's true. But even in clear weather, you're doing one of the most dangerous jobs in America. Okay? And depending on what you're doing in this industry, it could be really dangerous. Right? I mean, I drove the most dangerous road in America, the Dalton Highway. Now, I could say, that load's not worth my life. It's okay. Well, then why are you driving? No one said it was worth your life. Stop, playing that card. It's not worth my life. Well, then just stay home. Just sit at the house. Or better yet, go live out in a cave somewhere, away from everything. Because nothing's worth your life. And I'm not saying that it is worth your life. I'm saying we take risks every day in a lot of things we do. You're taking a risk just by getting out on the highway. So, you got to weigh the pros and the cons. And if you feel that you don't have the skills to run that road because of the weather, or if the weather's just so bad that the road's undrivable, or you're somewhere like Mississippi or Louisiana or somewhere where they're not going to clean the road off, then yeah, by all means, shut it down. Say that, and I repeat myself because I know I'm going to get in the comments, super trucker there, you want guys to go out there in a blizzard and get killed? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. Not one bit. I know what I'm saying. It's all relative. It's relative to where you're running, the amount of weather, if it's snow, the amount of snow. One of the problems we have now, and I was talking to some drivers at the truck stop at home, is they put this brine down on the road now. You'll see the little lines in the road a few days before snow's supposed to hit, where they put that brine down. Well, most of it washes off before the storm even gets there, and it does no good. But they do that instead of dropping sand and salt. And so the roads don't really get any better. They do it here in Kansas. They do it at the house. I've seen them do it in Oklahoma. They do it in a lot of places. And a lot of places are using beet juice now because they say beet juice doesn't freeze. Well, that's fair enough, but when you put it down days before the storm and it gets washed off, it's like, it doesn't do any good. So the roads are worse because if I will put that brine down, it'll be okay. It doesn't work, man. If it worked, they'd be using it up in Alaska. But they don't. They use good old-fashioned sand-salt combination. That's what they use. Look, I remember going across Nebraska on my way to California. This was years ago. And they had some freezing rain. And they had black ice. And the road got really slick. And that was a fairly hot load I had. And I stopped. Because I got to where it was getting uncontrollable, like, oh crap, I'm sliding. So I let off the gas. That's it. I'm good till I can't control the vehicle. Then I'm good. I better find a place to stop. And I did. And I called the broker the next day watching the weather. I know they had some freezing rain today. Don't worry about it. I'll call them. You know, she didn't say, "Oh, you must take that load. You shouldn't have stopped." I've never, in 30 plus years, even back in the day, I've never had a dispatcher or broker say, "I don't care what the weather's like. You just punch on through it." Never. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm sure there's somebody out there who can give me a horror story about that. I've had, people say, "Hey, it's a hot load, but do whatever you can do." Okay, I'll do whatever I can do. Everybody's got their limitations, right? Like Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations. Everybody's got them. Some people will sit out a chain lock. Some people will go ahead and put chains on and go. Some guys will try to go up the hill without chains, spin out, block the interstate, and make us all look like idiots because they end up on the news. I don't like fog. I hate fog. I hate fog probably more than just about anything. I hate fog. I drive in it, but I hate it. One thing about fog, especially early in the morning, usually it's going to burn off, or you'll drive your way out of it eventually. But I don't like it. It's supposed to get down in the 20s all the way down to Orlando, which means the citrus and tomato crops are going to be suffering down there. They're going to be screaming to get them on trucks and get them out of there. Because they are not set up for that kind of weather down there. I think they said last time I got that cold down there was in 2010. So, it's been a long time. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, it's just guys ask these questions. I mean, people say stuff about, well, you shouldn't do this because it's unsafe. You shouldn't do that because it's unsafe. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not telling people not to be safe, but at the same time, we're so risk averse in this country. But that's the gyno-fascism, There's way too much estrogen in the water. That'll probably make some people mad. And tomorrow it's midnight, so yeah, tomorrow will be the 1st of February already. Wow. It'll be Valentine's Day before you know it. Now guys, Valentine's Day's coming up, so don't forget to get your woman something. I don't know, run her a nice warm sink full of dishwater so she can get right on those dishes right after dinner or something. Buy her a vacuum cleaner or something like that. A lawnmower. Things like that. I'm joking. I know I can hear the ladies now. Oh my God. How dare he? Hey, I could have said, get her a sandwich maker so she can make you a sandwich. I'm joking. Sort of. I always thought Valentine's Day was just, I don't know, they like to sell candy and flowers and greeting cards. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. St. Patrick's Day, which is a big deal where I live. We have the parade and the carnival and all that. Then it'll be spring. Getting a phone call. I wasn't going to talk about this. I said something the other day about Halliburton, doing a Zoom interview with Halliburton. Hadn't heard back from him, so. But I keep getting a phone call from another company in Alaska. And I got to admit, they're kind of wearing me down. I don't know. This is awful boring. It's a good job. Steady money. Not bad money either. Good equipment. Nice trucks. You know, they spec these trucks out really nice. Got all the bells and whistles. They put a lot more stuff in them than they have to. My problem really is they put too much in them. They put all this stuff that makes all kind of noise. I just can't deal with it. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. This company's looking for somebody. They got a lot of freight they need to run down to the lower 48. Stuff to come back up. Plus, they got freight that needs to get up to Prudhoe Bay. So they're looking for somebody who has experience running the Alcan and running the haul road, which that's me. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'd go the rest of my life without ever running the Dalton Highway again. I did it. I can say I've done it. No one can take that away from me. And I would do it again, don't get me wrong, but I could go the rest of my life without doing it. It pays good, but I'm not one of those guys that has to do it. I would be perfectly content running up and down the Alaska Highway. There's enough adventure in that, believe me. supposed to be building some new roads up there, going to some mines. I wouldn't mind being one of the first guys to run some of these new roads, whenever they build them. I don't know if I will or not. But I mean, I don't know. I'll run the Dalton again if that's what happens. It's in God's hands, as they say. But I don't have to. I don't crave running Prudhoe. I miss running Alaska, but I don't have to run the Prudhoe. But I'll do it. I'll do it every week or every trip. That's fine. Better in the winter than the summer. It's smoother in the winter, and there's no tourists on it in the winter. Just trucks. Excuse me, we're already almost in February, so won't be long. We'll start a transition. Well, still got a little time. A couple of months. Go do some wild winter weather across Wyoming back in the day, boy. I mean, it used to be pretty wild. I think about the only mountain pass in the lower 48 that really gives me that same twinge in my stomach that Adigan Pass on the Dalton does, and that's Wolf Creek Pass in Colorado. Wolf Creek Pass is probably the closest thing to running the Dalton Highway, except Wolf Creek is paved highway. So, but there's some really tight turns on Wolf Creek Pass. That's the problem with Wolf Creek. You got a couple of them that were like 15-mile-an-hour curves. So you better be back down. You better be, running slow down that pass. Put Wolf Creek up there, with Adigan. It's even worse in some ways, like I said, because it's got some pretty sharp curves on it. But it is a paved road. That makes it a bit better. lot of guys complain about that. Yeah, that can get bad. The thing about that though, it's a 4-lane interstate highway. So if you just use a little common sense and obey the rules, like the chain up laws, you shouldn't have any problems. If, like I said, you obey the rules and, excuse me, and you use some common sense. Excuse me. And if you don't want to do that, then stay off of it. That's my advice. If you're going to blow past those chain up signs, then don't get on it. Because like I said earlier, you're going to spin out halfway up that hill, and then you're going to block the interstate. And not only do you make the rest of us look like idiots, but you're going to get a really big fine, because the state of Colorado is tired of it. And they are cracking down hard on drivers who do that. Now, you get up there and you spin out and you got chains on. Well, you got chains. I mean, you did what you were supposed to do. Your chains may suck, but they don't allow studded chains, I don't think, even in Colorado, anywhere in the lower 48 as far as I know. Maybe they do. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. So if you still end up spinning out, well, you know, it happens. But at least you did have your chains on. But these guys who are just going to blow past the chain up sign, if you don't want to chain up, that's fine, then park. No one's forcing you to chain up. But if you're going to go past those chain up signs, by God, you better have chains on. Because here's the thing. There's a lot of money that Colorado makes off the ski resorts in the wintertime. You're blocking I-70, people trying to get to Vail and places like that to go skiing. Not to mention you're blocking a major east-west artery. Yeah, they don't like that. Now I have the luxury of really not having to go that direction. I'll go west of Denver, but I'll do it up on I-80 or something, which has its own challenges, but you don't have a steep pass like you do on 70. It's colder up on 80, and there's more chance of getting, you know, into a blizzard on 80 because there's no trees and it's high up and, you know, there's a lot of wind. But you're less likely to have to put on chains. great city of Jetmore, Kansas. I've seen no jets anywhere around here. Nice empty road. It's Friday night, but I'm still in a really rural area, so I don't have to worry too much about drunks. Stop in Abilene, Kansas, get fuel. That'll be it. Runs through Jetmore, Kansas. I'm going to tell you guys, there is a deputy sheriff that works this town. I've seen him parked here during the day, and I've seen him parked here late at night. And they work it. So slow down, keep yourself close to the speed limit, you'll be all right. But anybody who's watched my channel long enough knows I say this all the time. This is where you get your tickets at, right here. More than any place else, this is where you're going to get your tickets at. Especially if you drive for a company that's got governed trucks that are governed down to like 65 or something. Chances are you're not going to get a ticket out on the open interstate. This is where you're going to get your tickets at. Because people think, oh, they don't have a cop in this town. They might not. They still got a sheriff's department or a state police. There's some layer of law enforcement somewhere. And he'll sit on that side of town back behind us, or he'll sit up here right past this convenience store. See him tonight. Yeah, I don't see him tonight. Meade, Kansas is another one. You go through Meade, Kansas on 54, there's usually a cop sitting around there somewhere. See, it's 45, 45. Jumps to 50 for 65. I'll start speeding up right here. I've never had a problem. Oh, excuse me. But, yeah. Just saying. will blow these little towns at night, especially late at night, early in the morning. That's where you get your tickets. To a big city, cops usually have better things to do unless you're going really, really fast. Like in Dallas, when I used to live in Dallas. If you're running with the flow of traffic most of the time, whatever, they don't care. They got better things to do. But you get in these small towns, in these rural counties, they got nothing better to do at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning than write you a ticket. And you can get mad at them all you want. But the speed limit said 35 and you were doing 50, you know. Just saying. It's been an hour. I guess I should end this. Not really much going on. Pretty boring. I mean, it's boring enough going across Kansas. No offense to anybody from Kansas. It's pretty boring where I live too. Looks about the same. But it's also dark and, you know. So I'll go ahead and end it. I appreciate you watching, and I'll keep you updated on what's going to go on here in the near future. What I'm going to do, I don't know yet. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you next time.